And today we have a fantastic guest, a former Miami YPN board member, now is part of the residential board. His name is Albert Vasquez, and he is here with Mark Cintron, and they'll be teaching you the secret to working with buyers today. This should be a fantastic class. I'm dying to find out this secret myself. I don't think they're going to spill the beans right away, but with no further ado, Albert, Mark, the floor is yours. Thanks for teaching this class today.
Well, guys, I'll just give a quick introduction to myself, and I'll let Mark introduce himself as well. Thank you all for attending. I see the number, it keeps on jumping up. We're at 40 and climbing. So thank you all for being here. I do love to have an interactive class, so I will be asking some questions. And just a little quick thing, why would you listen to me, or why would you listen to Mark? We've closed hundreds of buyers. And we found that how we used to do it and how we're doing it now has been a gradual progression. And there is a secret, there is this part, and you're gonna have to tune into the end to take a look at it, right? But Mark, anything you wanna say about yourself?
Well, hey, my name is Mark. I've been in the industry for a lot shorter time than Albert has. I feel like Albert is, was born into this. I've been adopted by Albert into the industry, and what a fantastic adoption. It is great when you're taken under the wings of somebody that understands and knows how to work, especially has a passion for it, right? You want to make sure that you have a passion to work with whatever you're doing. If that's real estate and it's working with buyers, then by all means. I think there's a great opportunity about working with buyers. I think there's, at one point it doesn't even become about the money. It's about the experience of knowing that you help somebody secure their first home. And I think walking through those doors, for me, it gives me more of a reward than a financial reward, knowing that I was able to take part of that. And so I think that's something really cool, and I hope that you guys are also experiencing some of that.
Kevin, quick question. What's the best way to get the keynote on it? I have the keynote here. Do I just share the keynote?
Yeah, just share the screen. I turned it on for all panelists, so you shouldn't have an issue, but it'll share whatever's on your desktop.
Yeah, so when I do it like this, you get to see like all right, whatever. It's cool. You don't get to see like the full screen, right? You get to see like a little bit of it.
We see the majority of it. I think it's good.
All right, perfect. So let me ask you a question. Let me see if I can get this. I love the interaction here. Can anybody tell me why you would work with buyers? And more importantly, before we dig into this, can you tell me what you are planning to get out of this class? Now, I know that this is a virtual environment. I love being able to teach in person. I want to get a feel of what is your goal on something that you want to get off from today. Okay, so I'm opening up the floor. If anybody can just share a few things that they are looking to take away from this, please let us know. I really want to be able to make sure we're attending to everybody. So you can put it down in the chat. Kevin, do they have the option to get unmuted as well? Or
so yeah, we can definitely unmute them. I can also promote them to a panelist if they want to show their face. We had an unfortunate incident at our Friday's class. I won't say what happened or who we dealt with, but we actually have decided not to have video with our attendees today. But if you want to jump on and
drop it on the chat.
Question,
drop it on the chat. It doesn't have to be video. Chat is easier, guys. I mean, it's an easy opportunity for you to just type away. I want to know what your major takeaways want to be for today. Okay, we've been all of us here been able to get a six-figure income simply by working primarily buyers, and we want to deposit that with you. But I don't want to, like, for example, are you a new agent? Can you drop down in the comments? Are you a new agent? Do you primarily work only sellers? How long have you been in the industry? Like, I want to be able to get an idea. Who do we have? Okay, so the new way to interact and work buyers with COVID. That's awesome, Beatrice. Yeah, that's a really good point. I want to be able to help single parents, first-time home buyers, to be able to live in their dream home. I am a new agent. Thank you for sharing that. We definitely want to be able to help you out there. New agent in the United States. Perfect. Okay, well, welcome, Madeline, to the US. Anybody else? What is it that you want to know, right? I work with buyers, and it's difficult to keep them loyal to you. Oof, you got to stay. You got to stay to the end. How to accomplish that, right? Guys, don't be shy. It's literally just typing away on there and just expressing what you want to get out. I want to make sure, Mark and I want to make sure that you get away what you wanted to get away from this and more. But I need to know what you want to get out originally. Let's see here, buyer conversions, conversations, and follow-up systems. Ooh, Susan, you're going to be in a treat. We'll dive into that a little bit. So thank you for sharing that, Susan. I would like to help buyers find an affordable home and renovate and keep them loyal. Again, that word loyal, that's going to show up really big. That's part of the secret over there. New agent in New Jersey, I like to focus on buyers and help the Latino community throughout the buying process. Latino community or any community, right? But definitely you have a niche, so I appreciate that. We want to definitely focus down on that. I want to be able to help buyers. Normally I work with sellers and I need to learn from the best. Well, Marina, well, thank you. I don't think I'm the best, but we just have some success on it and would love to share some of that success with you. So thank you. We're going to be sharing that with you as well. How do you find buyers? Oof, that's the first slide. Buyer objections. Wally, do me a favor, Wally. I want you to type in, when we're in that section, I want you to type in what objections are you getting most common. So if any of you are getting objections when you're trying to work with a buyer, please share them when we're getting into this. And I believe that education needs to be interactive. There's a saying that how you participate here is how you participate out there. So I encourage you to participate as best as you can as a student, so that way you can be the best you can as an agent out there. Let me see. Okay, now we're getting flooded with the questions. I like that. This is good. Make me feel flooded with questions mean we got engagement. I want to help buyers. Normally I help, okay, 15 years in the industry, wanting to increase my sales and closing rate. Jose, yes. We're talking about efficiency now, right? Making sure we close that gap. Buyer objection handling. Also, where to market for buyers. When to fill up buyer agreements, best practices of leveraging my sphere and influence, how to find buyers and convert them, how to talk to buyers. Perfect. We're getting good engagement here, guys. Everybody's awake. It's 1 o'clock. Hope you had your coffee. And we're going to set off on to, first of all, why work with buyers. Now, I have my take on that. And I'll let Mark also share a little bit on it, right? So why work with buyers? Guess what, right? Real estate is a one-to-one contact sport. And usually whoever buys something, eventually, if you play your cards right, that should lead to more business, right? And I have found that it's easier logistically to find a buyer, as we're gonna go through the different ways of finding a buyer. It's easier to do that than to do a seller. And a lot of times a seller is also a buyer. So if you put your focus on looking for buyers, I think it's a great way to naturally grow your business. It's easier for your family and friends to think about who is wanting to buy. They're a lot more vocal about that than who's looking to sell. So the reason that I like to work with buyers is because I know that as soon as I provide that high level of quality to them, it's another fan that I have gained, that they're gonna now share that success to their friends, their family, their coworkers. They're gonna talk to others about it. It's another review, so it helps me look better on the places where I need to shine with reviews, right? And it helps me build my business. But more importantly, throughout a 5-year period, right, you should be able to get at least 3 referrals from that person. And those referrals can be sellers. And additionally, later on in life, if you look at a National Association of Realtors did a study on how often someone moves. And the gap usually is between 5 and 8 years. So if you do this right, and by no means does that mean that you're not doing it right, but the study shows that a lot of us don't communicate as often as we should. But if we follow up with these people after closing and we maintain that relationship, that's a key part of it, you should be able to grow your business just off of 1 transaction. So I love that dynamic of it. Now the same thing can happen with the seller. I just think that the time and the efficiency, I just feel that it's easier, right? Now, Mark, what do you like working with buyers?
I think, well, I remember one of the first courses that I attended in real estate, I remember to an agent that was mainly listing focused. And at that point, I didn't know any better between buyers or listings, what was better to work with. I had the opportunity of working with buyers, and I was working with buyers, right? And that was the side of the business that I was working on and growing. And I remember that during the same period of time, this person got 3 or 4 listings, but I was able to close on 6 buyers. And he was like, yeah, you know, when you work with buyers, you're able to close a lot more often, at least in the way the system was set up. I'd imagine that everybody has different systems. But it did make me think about that. I was like, wow, if I can actually carry enough buyers and continually close on them, I could actually be like a closing machine with buyers. You know, I could essentially carry a lot more opportunity. And sure enough, like Albert said, later on into this, I'm getting calls from buyers that I worked with 3 years ago, and they're calling me now and they're saying, hey, we have somebody for you, or hey, we're looking to, you know, this is actually too small for us. We need something bigger, or we're moving, you know. So now your buyer also becomes a seller. So I think that's a great way to look at your business. And the longer you're in the industry, you know, all these buyers essentially start shifting into more buyers and more sellers.
And you know, and I'm glad you shared that. And that's a great segue to our next point here. And it's a motivational mindset, right? I am 100%, right? And sometimes I say this and people think I'm crazy. And it's not something that I said. This is not my quote. So if you have something to say, go say it to this guy, right? So this guy, his name is Gary Keller, and he has a quote, and he says, 90% of business is mindset. Think about that, right? So I know that when I first heard that, I was like, whoa, that's stupid. Why would you know, like, hello, you have to obviously dial in the work. And we go in through all this. And the reason that I share that with you is because I think in the real estate industry, can you finish the phrase? Buyers are what? What? Put it on the chat. Buyers are what? Right? There's a mindset that you have. There's a perspective that you have. If I say buyers are what do you think of, right? Liars, right? Beatrice, buyers are liars. Look at everybody keeps on putting it in, right? It all starts there, right? It all starts with your perspective, you know, and I think that there's a lot of that can be justified, right? Oh my gosh, yeah, so-and-so. There's a lot to that, but I think that if you really get the buyer process, you're able to perfect it the way that we want to kind of show you right now, I think that that assumption or that mindset can go away, you know? I think that the way you're going to attack your day needs to be about building relationships and not looking for a sale. Right? So that starts here, by the way. That starts here because a lot of times the mindset would be, hey, I just talked to someone, they were a little bit rude, I don't want to continue, right? Or something may happen and it's becoming very emotional, where it should be more mental, because you are on a goal to be able to build more relationships. And that doesn't start if you have a positive mindset, right? A positive mindset in the sense, like however you want to go at it, and that's not the main squeeze for today, but I do want to put it in there that the top listing agents and the top buyer agents that I know and I've seen throughout the country, they all have one thing in common, and they have this, not necessarily the sharpest tool. We're not saying that, oh, this one has all these degrees or anything else like that, but they're very, very hard on making sure that they're
sorry, man. I just saw the text.
Okay. So, anybody that wants to share anything, what are some of your favorite mindset quotes? So I would love to hear some of them. So for me, one of my favorite mindset quotes is, there's a few of them. I have one. Mark, can you share ones with yours? I'm just kind of like rumbling over mine. I forgot the wording on mine. But if you have your favorite one, can you just share it on the chat? I just want to see what some of your inspirations are. Like, it's just a quote, right? Whatever you think you can or can't, you are right. Yep, that is 100%. Mark, do you have any?
Well, one that I can think, that the one I keep thinking about often is no pressure, no diamonds, right? Which is for me is, you know, you got to push yourself a little bit harder if you want to produce, you know, something that's good.
Yeah, another one that I love to look on is be, do, and achieve. And it's just like a little mind trick thing here, there, right? But you got to be able to be the person in your mind, right? To be able to do the things that that person does in order to achieve that, what that person is achieving. So that usually, like, if you look at like someone that's making, let's just say 100 transactions a year, right? Or 300 transactions, or whatever that goal that you have, I got to look at what they do, right? So I want to be able to become that person. So I become that person in my mind, and I have to do the things that they do. but I have to do that consistently in order to be able to accept the things that they have. But the other one that I really like, Mark, if you can remember the wording on it, is like business. Oh, there it is. Your business grows to the extent that you do. That is probably one of my favorite things. Your business grows to the extent that you do. And what I mean by that is, I often tell people, like, if you are short-tempered, right? Or if you like to just, whatever, no one's perfect, right? I have a lot of flaws, guys. There's a lot. We're not going to mention them here. We all do. But the idea is, I always want to be able to improve myself, because I know that a better version of me, it equates to a better version of me helping someone else out. So let me see what else we got here. If it's to be, it's up to me. Perfect. So thank you guys for sharing. Let's go into how to find buyers. We got some free, simple, and paid solutions. I would love to hear some feedback. What are some of the ways that some of the people that are in this chat here are finding success on? Now, I'm going to give you some free ones, and I'm going to give you some paid ones, right? So free, guys, very simple. Literally, let me ask you a question. Can everybody, this is a yes or no question. So I just need to see a bunch of yeses or nos, right? Is everyone on your phone book, I know when you say phone book, you're thinking old school, right? But we're just talking about literally your iPhone. Is everybody on your iPhone or Android, if you're one of them people, right? Do you have everybody that's on your phone in your contacts, in your system, whatever that system is, a CRM from your company, an Excel sheet, somewhere where you are purposely organizing them, okay? So here we go. So right now it's a no, not yet, no, yes, okay. Good job, Marisol, Leslie, yes, Rosalina, okay. Keep it up, keep it up. Doing that right now. I love that, yes. getting into action, yes, in progress. Guys, this is the first thing, right? Keep it up. If you haven't answered, I really want to see that participation in there, just so that I can get an idea where you guys stand as we go into the questions later on. But everyone that's on your phone, ex-girlfriend, if they're still on your phone, they're still on your phone, right? Family members that you rarely speak to, ex-employers, whoever it is, they know you. And at one point, they liked you. Hopefully today, they still like you, right? And your goal is, if you don't show up to them in a perspective of real estate, because they already know you and like you, and hopefully right now we're working on being able to trust you. If you don't show up, someone else will. And nothing is more true to this story until it actually happens to you, until your neighbor sells with someone else that was not you. And you see that for sale sign every time you have to leave the house.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Albert, because I remember, just to share a quick story, and I'm sure it's happened to everybody. I remember when I first joined Albert, he was telling me, he's like, oh, everybody in your contact should be there, right? And it wasn't until I found out, like a week later after getting my license, that my uncle was looking to sell his house and he listed it with someone else. My uncle, right? Somebody that knows me, because he didn't know I had a real estate license, right? He didn't know I was in this, because I wasn't into like telling people yet. I didn't feel sure enough or secure enough, or all the things that you listen to, right? But you don't do. And shortly after that, again, another friend sold and bought also. You know, so I was like, man, 3 big transactions that I lost out because I didn't have people in my contacts that should have been there and should have known what I'm doing.
So guys, that's a very easy one. You know, everybody in your contacts, make sure you're reaching out to them. A common objection that I hear for them, oh, they're in another country. Oh, they're in another state. Oh, they're, you know, they're in Palm Beach, you know, and you're in Miami. Like, it does not matter, right? You don't have to call them and ask them, hey, do you know anybody that wants to buy, sell, or anything on real estate? Just touch up on them, let them know, and try to provide some type of an update, just of what's going on in their market or anything else like that. But just touch base with them and make sure that they know that you're in real estate. You don't necessarily have to ask right away, but if you make it a system to be able to call them and text them and being able to show up, that'd be great. Social media, look, we have great, I know Miami YPN, Kevin has thrown down some amazing classes with the rest of the YPN crew that is killing it on social media. So there's actually other classes that you can subscribe to that will get you there. Now, you can also go to the paid alternative. This is what I did as I started off. this is my mindset, right? This is the way I like to do business. I rather get a bunch of leads at a lower cost, right? Instead of fewer leads at a higher cost. I know you might be thinking, you know, a few things there, but the idea here is this. I know that my follow-up is strong. I know that my consistency is on point. And usually there's a lot of people that Zillow or Realtor.com will charge you, I mean, $150, $250 from, which we've actually gotten from before that for $10 or $5 off of Google or Facebook, you know? So if you can rely on your system, that's a very key part. I think buying leads from Google ads and social media ads or portal leads is a really good way to go. I think that let me ask you a question. Who's buying leads from Google? If anybody's buying buyer leads, please put down your sources down below. I know, like, look, we've done Google. We do a lot. I would say over 80% of our stuff is probably on Facebook. We pay it. It's very inexpensive, and you're going to get a lot of inquiries. And at the same time, I think that your follow-up system should be on point. And we've done the Zillows, we've done Realtor.com, but we've kind of pulled back on those because they are 5, 7, and sometimes even 10 times the cost. And it's someone that was already in our database in some of these occasions. So go to what? Hamza, they started doing, okay. So I will talk about other sources as everybody else keeps on sharing some of those sources. Another thing that I think that you can find buyers is referrals. And referrals can actually tie into number one, which is free. When you're calling someone that is out of state, they may know someone that is where you are, or they may know someone that is moving from that state until over here. Like, one of the things that we started experiencing this year is we found that other agents now have been able to network with us, and they send us some referrals. So they're like, hey, Albert, I see that you serve the Miami area. So other realtors can also send you referrals, as long as the people that already are in your phone book. You can also subscribe to services online that can give you referrals for leads. So they'll do something here. Let me look up some of these lead services, right? But I know that Redfin is one of them. If they go through a little process, but if you sign up for Redfin, you don't have to be a Redfin agent, and you'll get leads from them, like anybody that they can't handle, and you'll get it hand me down from them. Expert Home Offers is another one that you may want to take a look at. But if you just start looking around at some websites that what they're doing is they're not charging you for the lead. So they're not saying, hey, this lead costs $20 or $100. This lead is costing you 20%, 15%, 30% referral fee, right? So there are ways that you can find that, and there are other websites that you can get there from there. Another thing that I love to do, which you cannot do right now during COVID, which is probably a little bit offensive, is door knocking. Show your face, build relationships. Normally what we'll do is we'll do a little script like, hey, I'm just going around the neighborhood trying to get to know a few of the neighbors. We sold the listing at ABC Smith Street, and we noticed that there was an overflux of buyers that still wanted to buy in this neighborhood. And I'm just curious, I'm just door knocking around the neighborhood, trying to get to know a few of the neighbors. Do you by any chance know anybody that's thinking of moving in the near future? You don't open it up like that, to be honest, because I hate to sound very scripted and salesy. What most likely will happen is I'll knock on their door and I read off their vibes, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? We're the realtor that just sold this property down over there. We just wanted to get some feedback on the neighborhood. Could you tell us, what you like or you dislike, and just kind of open conversation eventually with them, and to just ease them up, and eventually just start asking them some of those closing conversations where it's like, hey, who do you know that was looking to buy or sell? And you'd be surprised how many people they'll give you. So door knocking is a great opportunity to build relationship. Last but not least, this is definitely the one that we do least of out of all of them, is postcards and mailers, right? Postcards, you can do it. I think that if you're looking to grow in postcards, I think you have to do a lot of money, and you have to do consistency. So we're talking about at least, I think the study shows that you should be doing postcards at least 8 or 9 months consistently before you can start seeing some return on it. And mailed letters as another sparked idea. If you have a buyer that wants to buy in a particular demographics in a particular neighborhood, you can door knock that neighborhood, or you can send a letter to all the neighbors in that neighborhood, and you can say, hey, just a letter, make it sound like a real letter. Hey, my name is blah, 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 blah. I have the the Lopez family, they're a family of 3. They're really been looking in this neighborhood. There's nothing available. Who do you know that wants to sell? Kind of as an idea, right? Those are ways that I think that you can find buyers. Before we go on to how to communicate with buyers, is there anything that anybody would like for me to share on how to find buyers? Okay. Can you sign up with Redfin and remain with a different broker? Yes, you can sign up to Redfin and remain through a different brokerage. HomeSnap Pro, yes, that's another big one. Not buying, but I would like to find a good buy. I've heard a lot of good things about HomeSnap Pro, by the way, Jose. So good job on that. How to convert buyers that go through Zillow. So I'll talk. Converting buyers is going to be a little bit down the road, right? We have a slide for that, but you're going to notice a theme, and our theme is to be a servant, right? Being able to be helpful and being able to kind of just know them, and not sales. Because a lot of times I think that what your instinct is, they get a call, you get excited, and you're just going in for the sale. How fast can I see this property? And all these, and all that's great as long as that your end plan, your end game is somehow to be able to convince them. But every so often, if anybody wants to do some role playing, we would love to do that. If you would just have to, if you want to be someone that wants to role play, I think Kevin would have to approve you, and then we can do some role playing live as well, right? But there's just stuff that happens that we'll go to it when going on the conversation. So keep that question in there.
And I think,
Hey, Albert, I think that's a great, sorry, Mark, to cut you off. I'll be real quick. I think that's a great idea. Let's do that at the end. And then anybody who wants to raise their hand, I'll promote them to a panelist and we can do that role playing.
Awesome.
So one of the things that I wanted to add, which Albert was mentioning, right? Going from that serving perspective, as you're looking for leads, and I noticed that there's also, I don't want to call it a tactic, but right, people like to serve you too, right? There's people out there with a servant heart, and they want to serve you, and they want to do a service for you that is good. So it could be somebody where you take your car, you get your tire rotation, right? And there was this one script or one line. You have to be genuine about it, because if you don't, then it's going to sound bad, and it's not going to come across as you want it to sound. But I've used it a few times, and it's a great line. And it's like, man, you've done such a great job at taking care of me. I want to make sure that I can take care of you as well. If you ever need anything in real estate, or you know of somebody that is looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, I'd love to help them out. It's a natural transition from, you just did something for me. I know I'm paying you for your service. I'd love to do something for you in return, right? And what better way than here, hey, we're exchanging professional services. And these are people you can add to your database. It could be the guy that does your tire rotation, your oil change. It could be somebody else, right? And again, it's a natural way of like, you're serving me, I want to serve you in return.
Good stuff, Mark. One of the questions here was, what are some of the best things that work out for us? So I'll give them to you in this particular, in this order. We get a lot from Facebook. Facebook would easily be our number one. Our number two is Google, right? And now if you're going to be on Google, you got to make sure you're getting your reviews. So I would definitely make sure your reviews are up in order for all that to take place. And another one is for us is Zillow, but not the Zillow that you think. So all last year, we didn't pay for Zillow leads, right? Like what we ended up doing though is we got a lot of reviews on Zillow, and it gave us that, good reputation on Zillow. So when everybody's looking at particular zip codes, we pop up, right? Those have been the ones that have been good for us. There's a lot of great ones in there. Jennifer, I think she hit it right on the money, right? Jennifer Ramos had mentioned that, for neighborhood, I don't think you should go door knocking right now. I don't think that would be socially accepted, and maybe not even like you can do that. But if you are walking down the street, if you like, the other day I was at a listing and I was walking around, there was people outside, and people actually came up to me and asked me, hey, what are you doing? You're taking photos of this new property, and they started interacting. So I think if you're walking down the street and you see someone, yeah, full on engage, obviously caution and from a distance as well, but I'm moving on to the communication portion in case there are, do you recommend cold calling, Sadie? So recommendation is a strong word, right? So here's what I can tell you, Sadie. I have seen people make it really, really good in that. As far as cold calling, we're talking about for sale by owners, cold calling. But for those of you listening in and don't have an idea, is you're calling people that never reached out to you first, right? So what we consider a warm call, someone that signs up on your website, on Realtor, signed up somewhere, right? and got that information over to you, that's a warm call because they gave you your information, so you have permission to reach out. A cold call is, hey, they don't even know where you're calling from, how you're calling from. So circle prospecting, where you get a list of phone numbers for everybody in the neighborhood, to calling for sale by owners and expireds. I definitely recommend that you follow the guidelines, because there is a lot of guidelines onto that on what you can or cannot do. Personally, we don't, right? Personally, we don't do that, but I wouldn't go as far as to saying I wouldn't recommend it. There's certain personality types that I think will excel into it. And I think it's a discovery process. All right, so I don't see any more questions. So let's move on to the next slide. And Mark, take it away.
Sure. So communicating with buyers, I think there's we can, I'm gonna talk a little bit, but as I'm talking, if you can go ahead and put up some questions of maybe issues that you have when you're communicating with buyers. That would be really helpful, so that we can go ahead and make this interactive. So if you're communicating with them and you feel like somebody somewhere is dropping the ball and I feel like I'm not communicating, or they're not understanding where I'm coming from, right? But the first key here in our philosophy is serve, don't sell, right? We're here to provide a service for people. And the one thing that I want to do with people is I want to love people genuinely. I want to love my community. And the best way for me to do that is to make sure that they don't end up with, either a bad deal, losing money, right? That they make sure that they've been able to, that you can explain everything to them. So you want to make sure that you're serving them and then they can see that and appreciate that, right? The other thing is get to know them, right? So FORD stands for family, occupation, recreation, and the D, Albert? The D?
What about the D?
Family, occupation, recreation, and?
Oh, dreams.
Dreams.
Sorry, I'm looking at the chats. I'm trying to answer some questions here.
Got it. So, those are definitely things that people always want to talk about. These are things that if you're a good communicator and you're able to engage with people, whether it's on the phone, by text message, whatever, you want to appeal to them, right? First thing that I've been doing, especially during COVID, right? I think somebody posted one of these questions in the beginning. How do you communicate with somebody, or what are you doing during COVID? The first thing you want to do is, I took out the whole position for the first 2-3 weeks that this happened of asking about anything about real estate. And my whole communication was, hey, how's your family doing, right? Are they doing well? We put together a list of resources that we can send to people, right? The first thing that they want to know is that you genuinely care for them, right? It goes back to that same principle, serve, don't sell. So as I was telling them, because they know I'm a realtor, they're naturally going to ask me without me having to bring it up. And at that point, you can take one of two things, be like, yeah, that's great. I want to talk to you about real estate, but first I want to know how you're doing, right? How's your family? How's your job doing? Is everything good, right? Occupation, are you still employed? Are you finding the resources for the state that you need? We're looking to serve them. And those are still good questions today, right? Because there's a lot of people that maybe got that last tail of unemployment towards the end. And those are still questions that you can always use to connect, whether it's COVID or not COVID. Always ask for the family, occupation. It also gives you information that you can use as far as getting to know that person and being able to serve them better, right? Because if I don't know what they do for a job, right? Imagine the person is, he's a truck driver, right? And I call him as he's unloading and loading. Well, that's going to be annoying, right? Nobody wants to be called during that time. Or imagine he's an attorney and he's in meetings, right? And I'm calling him during the meetings. Like, no, nobody wants to be called during a meeting. So the one thing you want to know is, what are they doing, right? It's the same thing with family. Like, is this guy, imagine it's a divorced couple, right? And the weekends is their day, and that day is the one day that you're actually calling them. So this is going to give you kind of like a setup on follow-up as well. Getting to know them will help you with follow-up. Recreation, what do they like to do, right? I know, especially, the beginning of this conversation, we were talking about grilling, right? There's a lot of conversation that you can associate and find, oh, hey, you know what? I actually know a great grill spot. Or could you tell me about where can I buy these type of steaks, or where can I buy this? Like, give people an opportunity to come back to you as well, right? And dreams, I love to talk about dreams. I'm a big picture kind of guy. So for me, it's very easy to talk about dreams in the big picture and see where they're at. And sometimes it comes down to the same thing about dreams in their home. Where do you see yourself, or what do you see yourself buying? What does your dream home look like, right? I think that's a great question for you to ask as well. And once you actually get to know them and you figure it out, right? I noticed that a lot of the times people treat buyers as if they're looking to buy right now. And that is a mistake because you're going to alienate your pipeline. You know, you're going to burn them out within the first couple of weeks, and you're in this for the long run, right? That's the one thing that you have to understand is when we're in working with buyers, we're in this for the long run. So it doesn't mean that you should just be like, oh, hey, okay, you're looking to buy in 6 months. Okay, I'll talk to you in 6 months. No, you have to have a system of targeting them and talking with them and seeking ways to serve them during those 6 months so that when the 6 months come up, I cannot tell you the number of times that people, there's a buyer that I'm working with right now, right? And she's gone through 3 or 4 realtors, and not because it's because she wasn't ready. Not because, poor service or whatever. She just wasn't ready, right? And they tried showing her properties and they've done all this. And out of those people, I'm the only one that has actually stayed in contact with her because we have a system, right? So every couple of weeks, I send her a text or I give her a call or something. And she's like, you're the one that has actually stayed with me throughout my 1 year of figuring out what I want to do, if I want to buy or not. And so I think that's key, right? The money is in the follow-up, and you definitely, the fortune is in the follow-up is what they say, right? You definitely want to have a system so that you don't forget about who these people are that you're contacting. And if you have a system where you can actually write down these things, what you spoke about, where you came from. Another example, I had a call from a guy yesterday that I've had in my system for a bit, and we talk every few months. And he was like, no, I don't remember. I'm like, yeah, you told me your dad was from here and your mom was from there. And, I'm able to bring this up because our system actually has this, right? I'm actually able to bring it up. And he's like, oh yeah, I remember you. And so now we're bonding over things that, even if they don't, because think about how many people they might have called, looking for a home, and how many people call them, how many people actually do remember who they are, right? And so I think that's a big part of it.
I love that Mark. I love that Mark has great stories to follow up with what is going on, right? But I having some questions coming up over here right now, and how often do you follow up? So I want you to write this down, right? Okay, if it's someone that it needs to buy within the next 90 days, so this is someone that you either think they will transact within the first 90 days, either by assumption or by confirmation. You ask them when they like to move in, and they're giving you these signs. Then that person should be at a minimum of once a week, right? Minimum once a week, ideally twice a week. And this is, mind you, this is your conversion stage. This is not what we call an active buyer. Active buyer for us means they've already met with us and they've already sat down with us. But as you're converting them, your follow-up should be minimum once a week. If it's someone that you think is a little bit further out, so after 90 days, but still within like the next 6 months, I think bi-weekly is a great follow-up. And you just need to have a system that can put that into place. So what weekly is pretty much our hot leads. Warm is our bi-weekly, and cold is every monthly. Right? And depending on what type of cold it is, because sometimes we have people that, by the way, whatever the buyer tells you, hey, I'm looking to buy next year. Hey, I'm looking to buy 6 months down the road. Cut it in half, okay? Because they don't know what they're going to do tomorrow. Nobody knows what they're going to do next week. You think they're going to know exactly when they're going to buy? Oh, yeah, no, I think around October 12th would be a great time. No, that's not going to happen. Whatever they think, cut it in half and follow up. What you don't want to do is be there late where they've already spoken to someone else, because guess what? They're going to go online. They're going to click on ads. And although I talked to them today, they may not show up later on. So it's very important, like what Mark said, you're in this for the long haul. So very important on that regard that you go ahead and you label everybody on those things. So hot people, at least once a week. Warm, that they're looking to do something within the next 6 months, right? But not necessarily immediately, every 2 weeks, so every 14 days. And I am talking about a phone call. So those of you here that just want to get away with one text, right? You ideally want to make point of contact. Can you get away with following up with a text message? Yes, as long as you can create a dialogue, okay? You want to stay top of mind. Go ahead, Mark, keep it up. So I just want to dig onto that.
I think one of the I think the most important thing that you learn early on is dig deep, right? You want to know and you want to ask questions, and you want to ask another question to follow up that question, right? So if they tell you, no, I'm looking to buy, but I'm not planning on doing anything until next year, right? A great follow-up question to that would be, hey, if I found the perfect home and it was the perfect price for you, would you be willing to do something about it tomorrow? Right? And then they tell you, oh yeah, no, if the property come up, but so then you realize, okay, wait, this person is actually, maybe they're not a year out, maybe they're actually earlier on, right? And what happens was sometimes you have your follow-up and it doesn't follow according to what that person told you or what you were able to dig out, right? And then you call them a year later and they're like, no, I bought 6 months ago, right? You're like, oh, but I had a system, right? And I put them on monthly, So again, you have to understand that staying in contact with them and asking the right questions, digging deep, right? Repeating, affirming. Those are some strategies that we do when we're talking to people, right? So if you tell me, hey, Mark, I'm looking to buy in 6 months. Oh, you're looking to buy in 6 months. Boom, I'm reaffirming. Sometimes just saying that, it's actually a negotiation strategy. The guy that, I can't remember the guy that wrote the book. I think it's, you know what I'm talking about, right? The FBI negotiator. Right. He would do the repeat and affirm sometimes, but with a different strategy. Sometimes you just repeat what they're saying. Oh, 6 months. And then just saying it like that with that tone of voice, people automatically want to add to that. Yeah, well, 6 months because I'm waiting for my son to finish school. Oh, to finish school. Yeah, he's in, it's like innate to us, right? When we're talking with people, if you just repeat what they said and you just kind of finish it with a tone of a doubt, they almost want to fill in for you, right? And this works whether somebody talks a lot or they talk a little. You use that same strategy and you realize that little by little, you're bringing out more and more information. Another thing about the follow-up, right? It's almost like if you think about the follow-up, it's kind of like somebody gave me a puzzle, but they didn't give me all the pieces, right? And every time I call, I'm getting another piece, right? And every time I send them a text and every time I send them a property and say, hey, listen, I noticed that, I know that you're not looking to buy yet, but I saw this property in a neighborhood that you were looking at and I thought about you, right? Just send them a property, right? And they tell you, oh yeah, no, but we, our needs change. We actually need 4 bedrooms or we need 5 bedrooms. You're like, okay, cool. Now I have another piece of that puzzle, right? And so little by little, every time you contact them, you're getting more and more of what that looks like. And so think about follow-up also. It's not just to stay top of mind, but it's also to get clarity on what they're looking for.
Mark, we're actually getting really good engagement here. So thank you for everyone that's asking these questions. Here's a question I want to throw your way, Mark. If we contact them, what can we ask them first? So that's a question by Jennifer. So thank you, Jennifer. And if we contact them frequently, what will we start the conversation with? How could we start? In other words, how would you start the conversation, right? So I'll let you take it away. And guys, if you have more questions, interaction is the best way to learn. So ask your questions. As you see, we're addressing them. There is any question, I think is the best way to learn. We can all learn from each other. So Mark, what would you say first time?
So it really depends on where you got the lead from, right? But most of the time, and it depends how you got it, right? But most of the time, let's say for us, we work with warm leads, right? A lot from social media or wherever. So one easy question was like, hey, I noticed that this property caught your attention or this caught your attention. And I just wanted to see how I can help you get more information on that home, right? Or you can ask, you start by giving something that they want. And as you appeal to what they want, then you start adding in your questions, right? Because what happens sometimes is, and I've noticed it with some people when I sit next to them and we're doing our call times, there's, you start asking a lot of questions and it almost sounds like they're in an interview, right? They're like, okay, so how many bedrooms and how many bathrooms and how many, what square feet are you looking for? And what's your price range? And it's just so not interactive at all. Like, it's like they just called and they could have filled out a form. I mean, for the purposes of what they're calling you, they could have filled out a form. Sorry.
I think that the good structure to do it, to answer Jennifer's question, is you have to find, it depends, it's the first call. So the first call, you always have to address the source, right? Mark was talking about like, oh, well, I saw that ABC Smith Street. caught your eye. So that's if I ran an ad on ABC Mystery and they came in from that ad, I want to address that, right? Hey, Mark, I saw you saw ABC Smith Street, you know, and then a great question that we always like to ask, and we just say, out of curiosity, you know, what caught your eye? Like, what did you, you know, what were the pros and cons that you noticed of that home, right? Ask these open-ended questions, which is kind of like if you see in the slides here, right? He or she who asks the questions controls the conversation. And there's this 3-step process that's, you know, all it is it's about digging deep. A great book for you to read, if you like to read books, it's called The Conversion Code by Chris Smith. And he has a digging deep technique. And it goes a little bit something like this, right? So, hey, Mark, what caught your attention about ABC Smith Street?
Oh, you know, I like that. I'm looking actually for a 2-story home in that neighborhood.
Wow, okay. So a 2-story home in that neighborhood. Yeah, you know what? We've heard a lot of great things in that neighborhood. Curiosity, what called your attention for that neighborhood? Now, I want you to, now he's going to give a response, but I want you to notice what I did there, right? I repeated what he said. And it's, by the way, for those of you that, you know, are very technical, you're not going to repeat all that they said, right? You're supposed to get the general idea, because when you repeat it, they hear it. And then you affirm what they just said. So if they like that neighborhood, guess what? That's a great neighborhood, right? Oh, that price range, oh, that's, find something that affirms what they just said. If they say that they like it, find a way to affirm it. And then you're gonna do 2 things right after that. You're gonna either dig in that same line of string to go further, that's a digging technique, or you're gonna pivot. After you've repeated and affirmed, you pivot to a question that you wanna go off later on to. So when I went ahead and said, hey, curious, what calls your attention of that neighborhood? That's digging. If I would have done, oh, nice, okay, that's good to know, but curious, by when do you want to look into moving? I pivoted from my direction of digging down on that topic to finding out when they want to go into it. Does that make any sense? I normally in a classroom, they would be like, yeah.
I think also one of those things, the key things, right, that I think often people do when you're in that first question or first call or first thing, sometimes they might tell you something that contradicts you or contradicts what you know of the market, right? So they might tell you, hey, no, prices are high and interest rates are crazy, right? I was just curious. So then do you repeat and reaffirm that, Albert?
I'm sorry, what's that again? I'm following the chat.
If they tell you something that you know goes against what you believe or what you know, knowing the market, they tell you, no, because prices are way too high and interest rates are high.
So that's a tricky question. That's a very tricky question. So here is the technical answer to that. If I am in the prospecting stages, right, I do not want to create a lot of friction right up front. So I may do something like I may affirm your statement, but I don't necessarily have to agree with it. So go ahead and tell me the statement. So I'm just calling it around. You say your statement. What was your statement?
I was just looking at it, but you know, prices are too high and the interest rates aren't low enough right now.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So prices are too high and the interest rates are a little high. Well, that's very interesting that you say that, Mark. Yeah, I can see how you can think about that. Tell me something. What do you think would be a good interest rate for you? Right? I went ahead and I affirmed his. I'm not saying, Mark, you are absolutely right. Interest rates are really low right now. By the way, they're freaking 3%, which is ridiculous, right? I'm not gonna grind you like that right now, but I would make a note that Mark thinks that 3% apparently is really high. Red flag.
So I think, you know, when you're communicating with people, I think that, you know, you also have to understand that everybody has a different communication style, right? And not everybody is gonna, and this is where you kind of have to be a chameleon. You kind of have to adapt to their way of communicating and not your way of communicating. So if you're somebody that normally, when you're communicating, you normally like to know about everything about them, and you're talking with somebody that is a very direct personality and they're just calling you because they want to know about that house and they don't really care about you, your family, or anything, you know, it's very difficult for you to approach them in that sociable way when they're an assertive person, right? Like they just want that and that's it. They don't care about the details, right? And then you have to understand that. And then there's somebody that might have a lot of questions and you're going through it as in a big picture, right? So they're structured. They want to know everything there is about that neighborhood, everything there is about that house, every single piece of information that you can get them. So you kind of have to adapt to their communication style and not yours. So that's one of those things where if I'm serving you, I want to serve you in the best way that you want to be served, right? It goes back to that same philosophy.
Guys, when you see this slide here on communication styles and you're looking at all these type of things here, I highly suggest that you can go do a Google search on DISC personality profiles, DISC, D-I-S-C. There's a free one from Tony Robbins. If you've never taken one on your own, it's great. Read up on it, but pretty much there's 4 different personality types, right? And it's pretty much what we have here. Someone that's very assertive, someone that's very social, someone that likes structured, and someone that's steady. And the more you know yourself and can help identify yourself on which of those you are, the more you read about it, and the more you watch YouTube videos about it, and the more you have a conversation about it, you start to train your mind to be on the lookout for these type of clues when you meet someone, right? Of all of a sudden, it's very easy to find who's social, right? Because that's very they'll be the party of the, they'll be the life of the party, right? They love to talk. Most people are structured and steady. So sometimes imagine if you are naturally very assertive, that means that you like to be short in your description. Yes is yes, no is no. This is why you should do it, boom. Someone that is structured and steady, they're gonna wanna have a few points. Like you need to give them 10 bullet points on why. Because if you don't, then you didn't earn their trust, right? Now, the other way it goes around. What about if you're someone that is structured and steady? You like to say 10 points for every single thing that you're gonna say. Let me tell you what I'm gonna order on #1 in McDonald's today. There's 10 reasons why I love the Big Mac. Boom, whoever's assertive, right? And I need to move, I need to go on to the next, right? If you are talking to someone that is assertive that just needs to go on to the next, you've lost them in their mind already because they're not about that. And at the same time, if you're doing 10 points and you're not in a social environment and the person you're talking to is a very bubbly, social, loves to do, and you're just very dry and assertive and everything else like that, you've lost them. So think if you can do some research on the DISC personality profile from Tony Robbins, okay? Take one yourself, read what the 4 personalities are. It has, which words can associate to one or the other. I think it would really help you, #1, be a better agent. #2, be a better communicator all around with your friends, family, and sphere. So, Mark, anything you want to add to that?
I got something to add really quick, actually. Next week, same time, same bat channel, Wednesday, June 3rd. We're actually doing a class on DISC profiles.
Oh,
believe it or not.
Oh, it's not planned.
That's it.
Like we planned it. All right, guys. So if you want anything more on that, tune in next week. I can't find a better build-up. It's a really great thing for you to be able to identify this. Helps you be better at what you do, and helps your friends be. Anything else you want to add on to this, Mark, before we go to the next slide?
No, not on my part. We can.
Perfect. All right. So now we're going into. You've made the call. You've gotten the first call, right? I don't. If I didn't answer your questions, please ask it again, or just type it out. The idea. I think next time it's at 1, right? Kevin, next Wednesday at 1. Someone's asking.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday at 1.
Yes. So you've already made the first call. You've ideally would have identified some point of communication. Your goal on the first call, by the way, is very simple, and it's more about them than it is about you. Your goal on your first call is to be able to know who they are, right? Let them know who you are, and be very curious on what they are looking for. The who, the what, the when, and the where, right? Who, what, and where. Be very curious on that, and don't make any assumptions. The assumption is if they clicked on this property in Miami Lakes, that they're wanting to buy on this property in Miami Lakes is similar. That is a natural assumption that we can make, and we can send them properties that are very similar to that. But when you get them on the phone, be very curious. Don't make any assumptions. And then the idea here is, ideally, the best way you can end your first phone call is asking for permission-based follow-up. Listen, I'm going to follow up with you regardless if you give me permission or not. But it is a psychological move to go ahead and it's like, after you've gone with a conversation, you can do something like, Well, Mark, I see here, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know that you're just in the browsing stages right now, but would it be okay if I touch up with you and just to see how that search is coming along with you in the next 2 weeks or so, give or take? You know, again, just that could be a month, right? When you're on the phone and you feel them out, you get to have a sense of their urgency. And the minute that you do that, in their mind, subconsciously, they know you will go out again. Now, the key to that is that you have to deliver on that, right? If you said you were going to follow up, okay? But Mark, continue with how do we nurture them?
So again, the best way to nurture someone is by knowing about them. So I think one of the useful things also when you're on that first call, there's a ton of information sheets that you can find probably online. I'm sure that you can find them, right? With just general questions. And that doesn't mean that you have to fill them up in that order, right? For example, name, number of children, occupation. Those are things for you to structure your thoughts and what you're doing. But those are things that you should have in front of you as you're in that call, and you can fill them up. And this is what's going to feed basically your communication strategy, right? Because if I don't know that you're looking for 3-bedroom homes and all I'm sending you is 2-bedroom homes, then you're going to get frustrated with me, right? If you're looking for the Kendall area, but I'm sending you properties in Hialeah Gardens, you're going to get frustrated with me, right? And just yesterday I was on a call with somebody and she was like, oh, keep sending me those listings because I like the ones that you send me. I'm sure everybody that's called this lady has put her on some type of nurture email list, but for whatever reason, the properties that we're sending her, and maybe this is because we did our homework, right? We know she likes 33193 and not 33126, right? And so we're only sending her those type of properties. So of course she's going to think that what I have to send her is better than whoever else is sending her something else that doesn't belong, right? So again, this goes back down to what information was I able to gather and using that to send them listing alerts, right? And again, this can be part of your strategy. It doesn't mean that because you're going to contact them every 2 weeks, it has to be a call. Because at one point you're going to be like, okay, what do I talk to this person about, right? I already know everything there is, and they already know everything there is to be about me, right? So again, these are pieces of information and ways that you can contact. Just be like, hey, I saw this property in this neighborhood. I know you're not ready to buy. I just wanted to send it over to you. Very simple text, very simple email, right? If you can text it, you can email it. So why not double down, right? So what I do is I use the same language. I don't even have to rewrite it. The same text message that I sent them, I put it in an email and I send it to them, right? Some people are going to be, and then you're also going to be able to tell their communication style. For me, it's easier to call someone than it is to text or email, right? But again, I'm adapting to the way that they communicate. So, I notice that there's buyers that prefer to email me. Why? I don't know, right? Because for me, the most efficient thing is to jump on a call and call them. But for them, the most efficient thing is to send me an email back. So again, this is part of the way that you're going to be able to determine their communication style. So if you text it, email, and call, then you're going to know which one are they more likely to respond to, right?
Let me say, sorry to interrupt the remark, because I saw there was a question or a comment in the chat, and I don't know the name. I don't want to scroll up because we're getting a lot right now. And it was about, I want to work on the perfect action plan, right? I want to say something because if you're like me, you want to be extremely analytical to get the perfect action plan. And this action plan is going to save my business. And boom, this one button is going to automatically do all this magic. I've been there, okay? Magic that could be done and can be automated, we have done, okay? Nothing is more effective to a consumer than property alerts and neighborhood updates, and nothing is more engaging than a phone call or a text, okay? Because a lot of you think about an action plan about, okay, cool, I'll click this button and it'll send a gazillion emails and for sure they're gonna call me. I have had leads that were from 2012, 2014, 2015, even 2010, reach out to me last year, this year, and throughout my career, simply because of one thing. It was the funniest thing. I'll never forget. Albert, you're the reason that I went, look, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I wasn't always at the top of my game calling everybody, but I did one thing and I did one thing pretty good, which I got everybody on pretty good listing alerts right? From either the MLS or any system that I got, and I consistently sent them. And you know what the funniest thing to me is? That I would get a call from someone and say, Albert, I just wanted to say thank you because throughout the last 7 years, the only ones that I've been getting emails from, and I find it, informative, have been you. What action plan did I have them on? Only listing alerts. And the fact that they consistently see me over and over again was enough for them to be able to build that rapport that they felt like I cared, and truthfully, I do. I just didn't get, they were one of hundreds or thousands in there, and we just didn't get to call them, right? And sometimes you're going to have that, but that's why I want you to understand that listing alerts, getting people in the right listing alerts, the minute you start sending people properties that are not relevant to them, boom, you are off the radar. If you don't catch that on time, if you don't have a follow-up call to identify if you're sending the right properties, and by the way, that's a good follow-up tactic as well. Hey, Mark, I know it's been a while since we last spoke. I just wanted to make sure I'm sending you the right properties that are good for you, right? And then just get a feedback from them. They'll tell you yes or no. So, Mark.
Yeah, another another thing also that's pretty simple, right? If you have somebody that is looking for something very specific, set yourself up for an alert on the MLS, right? Pick up a neighborhood, pick up a specific price, so that you know that when you get that email, what I do is on the subject, I put property for so-and-so, right? And so whenever a property pops up there, I get notified, right? And so when I get notified, I know he's getting notified too, and I can follow up with a call and say, hey, I emailed you this property. I think it fits perfectly with what you're looking for. Were you able to see it? And they might say yes or no. Okay, would it be good if I text it to you now so that we can go, you can check it out or whatever. So make sure that those alerts work both ways. They don't only just work for them, but you could also set them up for yourself if you know of a buyer that's looking for and what they're looking for. So I think that's important. Keeping Current Matters is a great, great tool. You can use this in a variety of ways. So they have a ton of great articles about interest rates, buyers, sellers, whatever you want. They have these articles written out for you, and it's so easy to use them. So easy to use them that you could actually grab them, turn them into a video. You can turn them into a little promotional video for yourself. Grab the information from there, and if you want, you can rewrite it, or you could just copy and paste it and send it over in an email, in an email template, right? So we've done a few, and we've actually gotten a lot of success in people clicking on the videos and wondering, right, our price is going to go down, our interest rate's going to drop. What's going to happen, right? These articles are already there in Keeping Current Matters, and you can grab that information. And again, you can do the same thing with a text message. Grab a snippet from that, and you can use that. So you're not just communicating one way, you're actually targeting them 3 ways. And even if you were a social media pro, which I'm not, but I know there's a lot of people that Messenger or Instagram messages a lot, right? They do direct messages a lot. And so they do that as well through there. So you don't just have to do it there, but you can also do it to people that you know on social media directly. So call, text, email. There's nothing for me that replaces a good call. I don't know, I'm technically a millennial, but I love calling people. I feel like I want to get a call with you. And I want to know, and I want to hear your voice, because if I hear your voice, I can hear your tone. I can tell whether you're bored or whether you're engaged. I can tell whether you have questions or you don't. And I think that's the part for me that likes it. And if you can use video, even better. I think there's a lot of tools and resources out there. We've been exploring with this a lot more, as far as, not just videos for specific things, but also just regular videos, like, after you left the meeting, send them a video, be like, hey, it was great meeting you. Thank you so much for your time. Or it was great for you to be on this call. Thank you for being on the call. Whatever you can do, make sure that they are also seeing you, because they're associating you and your brand for future purchases. And the last one is invite them to events. That really depends on your style, what you're doing. Are you doing, and these are things that you can partner up with people. You can partner up with title companies, you can partner up with your lender. You can partner up with different people and throw out, like, either, Super Bowl party, or a client appreciation party, or a post-COVID-19 party, or a mask party, whatever you want to do, Halloween party, gift wrapping party. One of my friends bought a house before I was a realtor. And she tells me how much she loves the team that helped her, because every Christmas they do gift wrapping, right? And it's free. And that's a way that they get to interact with every single person there. And it's so simple, right? Hey, you need somebody to wrap your gifts? Come on over. We actually, and it's not that expensive. I don't think it's that expensive to buy rolls of paper to wrap gifts, right? And all you have to do is manpower. It gets you a great opportunity to see people again in your neighborhood or people that you've served. So invite them to events. Even if they don't come, it's the value added that you thought about them and you sent them an invitation. I don't know if you want to add on to that, Albert.
Yeah, big time. I think that that's a very big opportunity for everybody to grow their business. Mark said it. Mark said it is right on the nail. You know, it's right on point. An event has two main values. The main one is actually the invitation. We think is them showing up. If they get to show up, that is awesome. You know what's an additional value? A follow-up. Hey, I noticed you couldn't make it to the event. We missed you. Hope you can make it out to the next. You're doing some ninja stuff in their head, right? Where you're showing them, whoa, crap, this is like, they care about me. They invited me. Crap, they noticed that they didn't show up, you know, and you're in a good space with them. A thing that I want to say for nurturing, right? Events. By the way, an event can be a first-time home buyer seminar. You know, if there's a lot of people and you haven't been responsive, you can do something like that. An event can be a picnic. It could, whatever it is, always remember that an event has a value on the invitation. If they show up, whoa, that's a big celebration. But there's also a value on following up. Hey, I noticed you couldn't make it. We missed you. Hope you can make it out to the next or something else like that and show them for something. But why is an event a key component? I'm not asking you for anything else than to show up, and it's to show up for something that ideally you're going to like. So it seems very unselfish. So that's what I would probably say about that.
Good question. I noticed I remember somebody in the chat originally put, I want to serve single moms or single parents, right? I think this is also a great opportunity for you to carve out that niche. If that is what you want to do, and those are the people that you want to serve, you can even be as specific as saying, I'm going to do a buyer seminar for single parents, right? And it could be, or I want to serve the Latino community, right? That's kind of like a little bit harder, right? Because you can't necessarily, you know, go by demographic, but there are organizations. I know there are organizations that you can, the people that you can volunteer with and things like that, that are looking for that type of education for communities. So I think there are opportunities like that that you can definitely find. So I don't know, does anybody have any questions about what we've covered so far? Maybe you can type it up in the message box.
No questions? Are we getting this recording via email? Too much gems to write. Oh, I love that. I love that. I have to rewatch this video. Well, I'm glad that's the idea. So thank you. I don't know if I'm going to butcher the name, Shoshana. Hope I did it right. Did I do it right, Mark?
You got to ask Shoshana.
Yeah, I got it too, right? Yes, I got it right. I got it right. All right. Guess what? Wait, no, not yet. Not yet. Scheduling the buyer consultation. So, Carlos, sorry if I missed it. Did you cover what system keeps you on track as far as follow-up? Carlos, bro, thank you for coming in, man, brother. We didn't. What we're doing right now is we are talking about making sure, it was on one of our slides here. We're going to try to speed it up because I know we want to kind of finish up at the 2:30 guideline. And if anybody can stay up further, Kevin, are we locked on to 2:30? What about if they want to stay after 2:30?
Hey, if you want to keep the party going, I'm all for it.
All right, cool. We're serving drinks at 2:30, guys.
Yeah.
So, after our part, no. So, Carlos, what we ended up just talking about is our hot contacts. We follow up on a weekly basis at least. Our warm, anybody that wants to do, you know, six months or less is bi-weekly, and everybody else is on a monthly. The systems that we use Follow Up Boss, but, you know, you can use Lion Desk, you can use, you know, we're talking about getting to a location, right? Follow-up is a destination, right? In this example, it's a destination. I don't care if you got a Corolla, a Lexus, a BMW, whatever it is, use it to get to the destination. Your destination is follow-up. Whatever it is, make sure you reach out to them weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, and I would dare to say that almost every system that I've seen has a very simple ability to be able to either put a task for every week or every 2 weeks or whatever it is, and keep you on track on that one thing. The best thing is that you got to deliver on that. How do you start with email campaigns, and what platform do you use to use them? For emails, again, marketing emails and everything else. Look, we use SendGrid right now. You want to look them up, SendGrid. But we've also used Happy Grasshopper. I don't want to go into like throwing shining objects that you're like, oh, that's the secret, or that. Nothing is better than a phone call, right? MailChimp is very popular, but just kind of get all this together. Nothing is better than a phone call. But to answer that question, there we go. Nurturing season, scheduling a buyer consultation, and asking for the appointment are the next two things that we're going to try to squeeze in for a little bit. Is everybody okay if we extend this a little bit to after 2:30? We're going to try to squeeze in because we want to go into the secret, right? There's the secret, right? We want to get into that part, right? Which is a very big, important part. So we want to give you some time. So hopefully we can keep you guys engaged here enough. Mark, give us a few tips on scheduling the buyer consultation.
So I know this, and I've heard a lot of people say this, right? If you get them in front of you, if I can get in front of them, I know that I can convert them, right? And so the key here is I want to get in front of them, right? Maybe I'm not great on the phone. Maybe I'm not great on video. Maybe I'm a horrible in pictures, right? But maybe if I get them in front of me, I know that I can get them to transact with me, right? And so the whole point of your conversation, the whole point of gathering information, the whole point of everything that we're doing here is so that we can get them to meet with us. One, it's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save them money and you as well, because you are spending your gas, you are spending your time, and it's going to save you headaches, right? And I think that's a big key, right? I think one of the things that you guys mentioned early on was loyalty, right? When you're working with buyers, what keeps them from working with you? What keeps them from working with another agent and 3, 4, 5 agents, right? And at the end of the day, it's whoever finds them that property, and it might be a stroke of dumb luck, right? It might just be the fact that they were the ones that answered the call for that property, and then all the work that you've put in goes down the drain, right? So, the questions that you ask during the call are going to be the most effective tool to make sure that you can get that consultation, right? You want to make sure that you know what their pain points are, right? Maybe they've been looking for a while and you say, you know what, I think it's time for us to meet, right? It really depends on what that information is. If it's somebody that's, oh, look, I'm just gathering information. You're like, oh, perfect. Well, that's a great opportunity for us to meet, right? Anything that they tell you during the call is a good opportunity for you to transition over into that appointment. So know their timeline, but never assume it's accurate, right? That's one of those things that we talked about earlier on. They might tell you 6 months, but it might actually be sooner, right? Especially in Miami, where there's a lot of people, or in South Florida in general, where there's a lot of people that have month-to-month leases, right? This is a great opportunity for you and somebody that you need to follow up constantly, because what is a month-to-month lease? That means that any moment they can be out of a home, right? And in that moment, they're going to be scrambling for it. And that's a great pain point for you to use and say, hey, I want to make sure that you're not scrambling for time, for money, and then having to look for a place. So why don't we meet first? So that way you have a plan in the event that this happens, right? So you're giving people a more accurate timeline so that they know. And some people might just not know, right? I can't tell you how many people, and it still surprises me with the amount of information that is out there, that I still have calls with people that tell me, no, I'm saving because I need 20% to buy, right? And I'm like, where did they hear this? Where did they hear that they needed 20% to buy, right? Or no, my credit is still only at 670. I know I need to be at 800 to buy. And I'm like, again, where do they get this information from, right? Who's spreading this information? And so there's a lot of misinformation out there, but unless you ask the right questions, and you can say, like, and again, a simple question, right? Not a script, a simple question. why do you want to wait until next year to buy a home, right? You don't have to be confrontational about it. You don't want to put them, you know, on a defensive, but you want to know, right? You're coming from a point of curiosity, right? Being like, oh, what makes you think that you have to wait until next year? Or what makes you think that your credit isn't good enough? Or, you know, just questions that you're digging in are going to help you to do this and be like, hey, I know that a lot of people have given you a lot of bad opinions or a lot of, you know, bad advice. I'd love to sit down with you and as somebody that is in touch with the market, give you a clearer picture of what you're looking for. Again, that's a transition. So I have a couple of scripts that I use in the next slide, Albert, if you can go there.
Okay, just before we go there, I think that a great thing that I just wanted to highlight here from this part, the reason that you want to get a buyer from when you're calling them on the phone, and you want to get them into a consultation is this thing right here. It saves time, money, and headaches. That's a two-way street. It saves you time, but that's not the way you sell it. You don't tell them, hey, I want to meet with you because I want to save my own time. So you tell them, hey, I'm looking to save you time and money along with any headaches. And we've noticed that the best way to do that is by fully equipping you and empowering you with what you should know as a buyer in today's market. You know, does that sound something like you would want to, you know, obtain or whatever you, so that's something like that. That's very important. But let's take a look at what Mark uses on some of his scripts on being able to get a buyer consultation.
Now we're pretty heavy on the idea of not necessarily using, you know, just like, you know, because I think some people think about scripts as like, I have to memorize this word for word, right? For us, a script, for at least for me, scripts are more segments of information that I can put in a conversation that would make sense and sound right. And the first thing that I always tell people, you know, agents is, if you're thinking about a script, think about how it would sound if you were on the receiving end of that script, right? Would you feel like somebody is selling you, or would you feel like somebody is actually coming from a perspective of consulting, right? Like I wanna understand what you're looking for because I really wanna help you. And so if you're coming from that perspective, it's a little bit different than I wanna sell you something, right? And so thinking about, you know, saving people time and money, which is a big thing, right? Because, you know, just yesterday I was on a call with somebody. The guy works 60 hours a week. And he's like, you know, just send me properties. And if I see something, you know, I'll look into it. And then I asked him, you know, how long have you been looking for, or been, you know, with this idea of buying a property? He's like, oh, for the last 2 years. Right. And I go, wow, 2 years. Again, repeat question, right? And he says, yeah, you know, the problem is I haven't actually taken time to do this. And I just keep postponing it, but I know I need to do this soon because I don't want to keep paying rent, right? And so my transition for him was one of these, you know, and I told him, hey, if spending 30 minutes with me could save you hours of time and thousands of dollars in your home search, wouldn't that be a benefit to you? And so at that point, somebody that was hesitant to give me an appointment like him with 60 hours a week and saying, man, you know, I don't have time, you know, he actually said yes, right? He's like, yeah, I see the value in that. And I was like, yeah, because I want to make sure that I can take away something from your plate and put it in ours so that we can help you. And instead of sending you to see 500 homes, all we have to do is show you 5 homes, right? Now, is it always 5 homes? No, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But sometimes you only show 1, right? If you have narrowed it down and you got that, it's amazing what you can do by asking the right questions and having the right consultation. And so I put it only once because I think this is something you can always do. And you always got to give them the 2 points, right? And say, hey, great. So would Monday at 2 p.m. or Wednesday at 5 be better for you, right? You assume the closing, you assume the time, and you go into that. So, you know, you definitely have to be in that perspective. Now, the follow-up, sometimes you have to close the appointment. You have to do that close to appointment several single times during your call or during your follow-up, right? There's somebody that I think, you know, I followed up for, I want to say 50 times, right? 50 times in 2 years. And they weren't even the decision makers. The decision maker was actually the wife, which at that point were girlfriend, you know? And it was just interesting, right? Because the follow-up was consistent follow-up. And Albert sometimes asks me, he's like, hey, what is it that you saw in that person that made you want to follow up with them 50 times, right? I don't know. I can't tell you. But there was something that told me this guy is going to buy. right? And this guy is going to buy, and he's going to buy with me, you know, and I consistently push for the appointment. Now, this is a great story, not because they bought a property and not because they ended up selling a property with us as well, but it's a great story because this woman is super busy. She works for the port in Fort Lauderdale. She had scheduled another meeting, like shortly, like she was going to give us 20 minutes and that was it. She came into the buyer consultation and she pushed her meeting back at least 5 times because what we were saying during that appointment was so valuable to her that she kept pushing her own meeting further down the line. And so that is the greatest part of this, is that once you get them in there, if you're able to provide the right value, it's definitely going to be worth their time and worth our time. So moving on to the next one. Has anyone, this is another one, right? Has anyone taken the time to explain the home purchasing process and the current market trends, right? This is probably my favorite line and the one that I use the most, just because I realize there's a lot of misinformation out there. And people think that buying a home is just getting qualified and going out to see a property. That's it, right? Nobody ever explains to them the contracts, the timelines, the process, you know, what can you expect? What can we do to negotiate? As we're approaching shifting markets, this is a huge value for you, right? Because that means that your buyers want to know what's going to come. Like, people don't mind bad news. They just don't want to be surprised by bad news. So if during this appointment, I can tell you everything that you can expect, wouldn't you feel that that would be worth your time, right? And again, this is something that transitions, and it's an easy line. Has anyone taken the time to explain the home purchasing process, right? It's easy, and you can do that and say, great, I'd love to meet with you in my office from 2 to 5. Or now, going back to the question, during COVID-19, in a week, I was actually able to schedule, I think, what was the?
It was 17 appointments or something like that.
17 appointments, virtual appointments, which I loved, right? Because it opened up a whole nother perspective, right? This whole time before this, we were thinking, oh, okay, people need to come into the office, but I only have so much time, right? In order for me to work with buyers, I only have so much time for these meetings. But during, thanks to COVID-19, again, these was virtual meetings, 17 in a week, where it was like, hey, I actually, now that you have some time, I have some time, why don't we sit down and I'll send you a Zoom meeting and we can talk about the home purchasing process. Very easy now, very easy. Because even people that didn't know how to use Zoom, now they know because of their kids, because of their job, so something that was super hard for them to understand technology-wise is now very easy, accessible. Third one that I like to use is, we'll save hours of your time and a lot of potential headaches in your home search if we meet at the office first, right? So if somebody calls you and says, hey, I want to go see that property and, I don't want to meet, right? You got to show them the value. Again, wouldn't it be better for us to meet if I'm able to save you a lot of headaches in your home search, right? And so they might say yes or no, blah, 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 right? Especially somebody asked about Zillow leads, right? Sometimes the Zillow leads are a lot of people that are looking in foreclosures, pre-foreclosures. So again, this is a good line for those people. Be like, hey, I want to help you find those type of properties, but wouldn't it be better if we're able to meet at our office so we can talk a little bit about that first? Again, now you don't have to do office, you can do virtual. And the last line is, you should like to meet. I'm available most times this week, right? So you're assuming, and I wrote that wrong, my bad. It sounds like we should meet is really what it should say. And this is an assumptive close, and I like using this one a lot because you're coming from a point of confidence, right? I know what I'm talking about. I'm the professional here. I'm the realtor. I know because I look at properties every single day. I know what's a good deal and what's not, and I want to educate you in that. So when you go like that, you go from a perspective of being, very natural. Just say, hey, it sounds like we should meet. Like, you're ready. And, I'm available most times this week. So what works best for you? I have Monday at 10 or Tuesday at 3. Right? So again, you're going from an assumptive, like, hey, I know that we've talked about this property, let's meet. You're not giving them an opportunity so much as to interact with that one, but it works really well. I don't know if you, Albert, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think it's always a good practice to add what we call an option close. Option close is you give 2 options, and there is a psychology into this, so you don't have to overthink it. But if you ask them, when is a good time for us to meet this week, that makes them think too much to the point that they will feel closed in and they won't give you an answer. But if you give an option, like, hey, it's today or tomorrow a better time, they're more susceptible. So any way you can play these options. The one that I like to do is, hey, are mornings or evenings better for you, or morning or afternoons, or Like, I think that is a very easy way to go on it. We're getting ready to go and to share the secret. I know that this feels like, you know, a big build up for it. I do want to plug in Mark and myself on social media, because we do want to give away something, right? Where it's at least a template for you to be able to have what we're about to announce, right? Which is the thing that a lot of people know about, but few people do it. And I think I want to demystify it. So I'm a father. And as a father, we watch a lot of cartoon movies. I don't think you need to be a parent to watch cartoon movies. Cartoon movies nowadays are amazing. But if you've seen Kung Fu Panda, right, the first one, right, he gets the dragon roll. I don't know if I've lost people here, right? Kung Fu Panda. I'm sorry, bear with me. Any Kung Fu Panda lovers in the house, right? They're probably not. They're probably not. I'm probably my only self. Maybe Mark, maybe. There's this part here. Yes, okay, Marisol, Kung Fu Panda. So there's this part and the end of the movie, and it's like he gets the dragon roll, right? I love that movie. Yes, right? So you know what I'm talking about. Okay. You see, we have some Kung Fu Panda lovers in here, right? So there's this part, and he's like about the dragon scroll. The whole movie built up like this dragon scroll. It's so mysterious, la, 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 la. And if you read what's in it, you're gonna mind blown. And then the thing is that there is no secret to Kung Fu. The secret of Kung Fu is that there is no secret, right? And that's not what I'm gonna go into here. I'm not gonna be, there is no secret, boom, we're off on third. I'm not building that up. But I am building up to the point of view of perspective, right? This particular thing that we're about to share, it technically in a way is not a secret, but for whatever the reason, very, very few, you can ask Kevin, you can ask a lot, you can ask your own brokerage, right? How many of them are actually getting this signed? And the numbers are very, very low. So what is the secret? The secret is very simple. Can you find a way to get a loyalty agreement? At the beginning of the webinar, a lot of you were talking about, how do I build up loyalty, right? How can I invest my time? How can I do this and make sure they don't go out and backstab me, right? And move on to the next buyer. And I'm gonna tell you right now that this has a lot to do with tactic and a lot to do with mindset, right? So the way that we do this is simply through a buyer consultation, right? So we're doing the same things that a lot of you are doing, but at the end of the buyer consultation. On average, our buyer consultations are an hour to an hour and 30 minutes, right? Where the first few hours, what we're really focusing on, I want to build value on top of value, on top of value, 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 value. I want to learn about them. I want to discover their process. I want to show them the home buyer journey. I want to be able to show them market trends. I want to be able to educate them, ask them a lot of questions, right? Like, what do they want? When they see that, you're going to notice that once you start implementing this, and I'm telling you, this greatly changed our business. And if you don't think so, that's great for you. I'm telling you, it did for us, okay? Because when you do this, and we've been doing this for years, by the way, this is not, we started last year. When you do this, number one, you'll notice that not a lot of realtors spend time to be able to meet with them first and actually get to understand them. They appreciate that, and they will show you how thankful they are for that, right? But the idea of doing value over value over value over value is at the end of that consultation. And you might be doing buyer consultations right now and you're thinking, Albert, I'm doing everything that you're saying you're doing, but if you're missing this one piece, you've missed it, right? You need to find a loyalty agreement, okay? I'm gonna give you a heads up. I'll read off of what our loyalty agreement kind of looks like in a little bit, okay? But if you wanna get an editable version, just follow us at, my Instagram handle is Albert4Homes. Mark is Unlimited Mark. Just message us, right? And we'll be responding, and we'll send you a document that you can go ahead and add to it. I wanna, before I tell you what it is, I wanna give you a few things here that is on this slide, right? You need to invest in them first, show them value, that you care by spending time with them before you show them a house. This is a very key component. Do not have them meet up with you, and if after 15 minutes or 20 minutes, you're going off and you're going for the kill, bam. right? Because you need to show value. People want to buy things because of value. Why would they buy an Apple product, right? Or an over expensive product that you think it's overly expensive? Because they see value. If the lack of value is the lack of decision making, right? So that's something you need to go ahead and grab. Consultative approach versus a transactional approach is something that we do. Consultative, I want to get to know you. Tell me more about that. What does this look like? And we start making these suggestions, right? Another way to go about it is a transactional approach is very dry, cut and dry. You know, okay, you want to see this home? Boom, no questions. That you're not really digging in. You're not really educating them. You know, they say that we're a consultant. What type of consulting are you doing, right? If you're not showing them market trends and everything else.
I also want to interject something in there, Albert. Part of the consulting approach also means allowing people to discover and guiding people to discovery, right? So you don't want to just tell people and give them the information. You want them to discover it in that consultation, right? You know, if somebody tells you, I want to buy a 5-bedroom home in Miami Beach, 2 blocks away from the water for $250,000. Do you automatically be like, oh no, that's impossible. You're never going to find that. No, part of the consultative approach is basically guiding them to the information and being like, seeing what we're seeing here, do you think we're going to be able to find that? Right. And have them come up with the answer. Because if you give it to them, then you're just one more person that told them no. But if they discover it, then you're truly being a consultant.
Well, that's a huge takeaway, guys. If you're watching this on video, that's a thing where you need to rewind and say that is right on. You know, clarity and transparency, never assume. And I think that goes with, what Mark was saying there a little bit, right? Being able to, what I like, how do I show market trends, right? So we do a program, it's called Trend Graphics. Our brokerage provides it, but there's many others. You can go ahead and you can go into the MLS. There was a point in my life where I literally just downloaded the stuff from the MLS and I just put it into Excel and I made a presentation from it. Most people are not going to do that, so I understand that that's not something that can happen, right? But the idea is show them. Whatever you have access to is a lot better than whatever they have access to. It's not about that the trick was this particular program. The trick is being able to get the data and show it to them, okay? So things that we like to focus on is, for example, what type of market are we in? Are we in a buyer's market or in a seller's market? And that is determined by months of inventory. So if we are 6 months of inventory or less, then we are technically in a seller's market. So typically speaking, Miami, South Florida has been in a seller's market for the last, 10 years or so, right? And I show them, look, just because it's labeled a seller's market doesn't mean that you as a buyer would get benefits, right? And we talk to them about stories about people that bought 5 years ago, 4 years ago, and they're sitting on all this equity and they got these great interest rates and they bought in a seller's market. So don't let that be the assumption. And that a buyer's market is whenever you have 8 months of inventory and more. But you can talk about days on market. Educate something. You're like, hey, you're probably at this point, Albert, I don't know what to educate them on. Then that probably could be your next journey, right? Finding out what are topics that you can study so that you can educate. But the idea of the consultation is that you have to provide value on an educational approach, because if not, then you're just another person to them, right? That's kind of like everybody else. Loyalty agreement. This is the part, this is the secret. It is an emotional and a mental bond. Now, why do I say loyalty agreement? Because we do not use the buyer brokerage agreement that is available on Florida Realtors. Now, that is a great form that serves its purpose, but we have found that because it requires sometimes for a signature and money, deposits, and a few other things there, right? It feels very legal document, very, oh my gosh, I need to review this. I want to make a very simple document that, by the way, our loyalty agreement, it says, here's what I'm going to do for you. And in return, here's what I expect from you. Okay. And guys, we literally list simple stuff. I will send you email updates on properties that come out. That's part of my loyalty agreement, guys. Boom. Is it something mysterious? It's not something like, oh, and I will promise that I will get you the best deal and I will negotiate by 10% or more. No, you don't have to go over. It's a list here. Let me read a few of the stuff that's in our loyalty agreement, right? Just so that you can demystify it, because I feel that when we do these things, my primary goal is to like demystify what this is and what this isn't. And a lot of people have never seen one of these. I remember I never saw one of these. And when I first saw them, I was like, wow, we should have been doing this. You know, we will educate you. And so here's the point. We will educate you and inform you on the real estate process and all new current information and disclosures. You know, we will set up a customized web link with the homes that fit your needs so that you can view them in real-time MLS time. Right? It's a, you know, we're available to show you pre-construction home and for sale by owners, right? It's a lot of stuff that we can go ahead and say. We will discuss strategies about offering a price, financing terms, interest rate. Like, you know what I mean? It goes off and says a lot of things that you probably take for granted that you do as a realtor, and we're articulating it as our VIP agreement or our loyalty agreement. And what do I expect from them? Hey, loyalty, right? Make an offer on any home or new construction with us, right? And we make it very simple. This agreement, you're not obligated to buy or build a home with us. Just because you sign doesn't mean you have to buy. This is just, hey, if you were to buy, now or in years from now, is it okay if I've deposited this amount of time and money off of my time? And by the way, you're not paying for our commission, right? The seller is. So the reason that I want to invest in you is because it only makes sense that if I'm taking this time, I want you to see a little bit about how carefully we will take care of you, right? So that eventually when you do transact, we would be that preferred choice that you work with, right? And that's kind of what this loyalty agreement is going to be on, right? And what we're offering, if you follow us on our social media platforms and send us a DM, is a templated version of this. It's not going to be our exact one, but you're going to be able to add things. The more that you add, I wouldn't say this needs to be a 5-pager. I think a 1-pager or 2-pager max is great. And then just say what they agree to and what you agree to, what you're giving to them and what they're giving to you. And ultimately here is you want loyalty. So for the time and effort, so this is one of the clauses, for the time, effort, and services expected by us on your behalf, we ask for your loyalty. If you buy a home from another real estate firm for sale by owner or builder with us, without using us, please let us know in advance. This may and can devote our time and our attention to our clients that we prefer and are highly, highly valued. So those are little clauses that you can add in there. Again, this is an emotional contract. This is not a cancellation fee. Another thing that we tell them is, by the way, if you feel that we didn't comply according to our promise and to our agreement, please let me know. And if you want to cancel, we can cancel. So we let them know that they can cancel. And guess what? Once they sign, it's harder to get them to come on board, but it's even harder for them to back out on a loyalty agreement that there's no cost and anything else like that. It's actually very, very easy to them to say yes after you've shown them value. And the best part about it is, if for whatever reason that lead is being bombarded by other realtors, right? From their Zillow or everybody else, they're being followed up by 5 or 6 other realtors. Maybe Mark is calling one of your leads right now, you know? The only way we're going to legally back out is we're going to ask this particular question. By any chance, do you have an agreement signed with that agent? If they say no, it's technically open game, right? Anybody can go out there. And if they say yes, I can no longer follow up with them. If they follow up with me again and Mark finds out about it, he can file a complaint, because you can't follow up on someone that already has an agreement signed with another agent, right? So for right now, I don't know if this is the first time you've heard of any of this, but that is the one thing that's the single thing that you can do that will slowly but surely grow your business to another level. Because what you're doing is, a lot of people think you got 20 buyers. How many of them are willing to sign a loyalty agreement? And now those people are kind of like listings because they're loyal to you, right? And now you can just keep on building that pipeline of buyers and close them as you go along, because you know that they're with you. Now, mind you, you still got to provide service, right? Because they can't cancel with you. But as long as you don't give them a reason to cancel, you should be able to build a great business. So we're at the end of our thing, Kevin. I don't know if anybody wants to role play. Any questions? We're probably going to dedicate the next 5 or 10 minutes to any questions, anything that anybody wants to role play. Guys, we're here for you guys. Thank you for like moving all, like seriously, an hour and 40 minutes of your time during COVID. You're the hero. So let's talk about, let's see, any questions? Let's see, messages. All right, how do you reassure them that this is in a contract that they are legally bound to, besides saying that, how do you convince them to sign your loyalty? I mean, there's no fee if you take a look. You're not putting any fees. It is a contract, by the way. A contract in the state of Florida, by the way, can even be verbal. Right? But again, I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. Disclaimer, right? You should contact with your own attorney. But when I say we, I'm telling you, this is a practice that we've found from top performing agents throughout the country. They all do this one thing if they're specializing on buyers, and they get an agreement, right? I will give you this and you will give me this, right? And if you want to modify your own agreement, you can modify it. If you want to use the Florida Realtors, I know agents that use the Florida Realtor buyer brokerage agreement, and they're perfectly happy and fine with that. So if you wanted to go ahead and not break your head, you can use that one. And that is, the idea here is to let them know this is a loyalty agreement, right? And present it that way. Hey, I do this. Does this sound fair? If I'm providing you all this if I'm giving you everything that I said I'm going to give you, would it be fair that I only ask for your loyalty? It's a fair exchange.
And I can tell you, I'll add in a story into that. You know, I remember I met with this civil engineer and his wife, and we spoke about this buyer brokerage agreement. And one of his questions was, you know, why would I want to commit to you? I want to, you know, the first agent that brings me this is the one that's going to get the deal, right? And my question to him was kind of like, because people don't usually think about it in their context, they think about it in your context, right? And one of the questions that I said was, well, how would you feel if a firm hires you and tells you, hey, draft plans for me? And then they're like, but whoever brings me the plans first is the one that I'm going to pay after you've done all the work. You know, and so, you know, at that point he was stunned, right? Because you're throwing, again, you're bringing it from a consulting approach, right? You want to help people discover why you want them to sign this and what that means for you. And so I think those are some things that, you know, some things that once you throw it back at their court and you make them and you help them come in through that, understanding why you want them to get that, I think very few people that I can think of, and maybe no one lately, has actually refused to sign a buyer agreement. And part of that is because if you show enough value, there's absolutely no reason for them to doubt you until you start failing, right? Once you start failing, all that goes. Another thing that I usually say for that is, this is more than a contract. This is really an honor code. This tells me and it keeps our communication transparent and clear, what you can expect and what I can expect. And I think if we work and abide by this honor code, then we're going to have a good relationship, and we're definitely going to have a win-win scenario.
Jose asked a very good question. So would you not collect the retainer fee? We do not collect the retainer fee. We're not saying you should or you shouldn't. I'm just saying I want to create the least friction possible to get them to sign, because I believe it's more of an emotional bond. Someone that's willing to cancel out of an emotional bond is someone that's willing to walk out on something that is a retainer. That's just our personal perspective, right? So we do not have a retainer fee. Another question here, I would love for someone to explain to me the home purchasing process. No one has explained it to me. I'm a new agent. Romina, look, I was in your shoes as well. I was a new agent and I wanted to find out everything. I think that a good place for you to go in, if you want to find out what the process is, and I know, look, this class had one purpose, right? And it's how to be able to grow that business with the buyers, with the consultations and stuff like that. I don't know if Kevin has any classes with a YPN coming up that can show this. But I look, and I hate to sound vague on it, right? But a good Google search, hey, what's the home buying process, right? And start reading up on it, and maybe you can create your own graphs. The idea here is ours, it just shows like 8 steps. You know, you meet with us, you meet with the lender, find house, negotiate house, you know, go through inspections, comply with contract, and close, right? Like, you don't have to overcomplicate it. The buyer process is actually something that we don't focus too much on the consultation because it's very simple. We do give them a pamphlet that talks about the home buying process because I believe they're better off probably reading it. But that's definitely a great question, Romina. As a new agent, I can relate to you because I was hungry and I think that when I got my license, I kid you not, the first 7 months or so, I was pretty much almost 2-3 times a week in the Miami Association of Realtors office for classes. Like I was back to back classes. Gimme. I was researching. I was loving all the content, and there's great content now that you can consume from your house. So I would try to get as much as that possible and you know, find it out there. Let me see here. How can I create an effective drip plan from Monique? Great question, Monique. Again, me personally, I will tell you, I have had a bunch of plans. The best plan that you can do is something that can keep you accountable to making your calls and your texts. Do not fall into the trap in real estate where people think that the best action plan is something that does everything automated for yourself. You know, so that is not our goal here. You can create great action plans. Action plans are going to be determined by your platform. Are you using, you know, Sierra Interactive? Are you using Follow Up Boss? Are you using, you know, any other CRM, Lion Desk, whatever it is? It's based on that. And I personally want to automate certain things, and I want to be able to be tasked to do the important things. So in my action plans, what we do is I want to make sure that the people that are hot are getting called once a week, and the people that are warm are getting called twice a week, and the people that are, you know, further down the road are getting called at least once a month or once every 3 months. So it depends, but that to me is the most important thing. And as far as even better than an action plan, I think that if you have great notes on your list. So for example, imagine if I have a list of 1,000 people and I know that 125 of them live in Hialeah. If I can look into my CRM and have that organized, I can say, well, I want to send out this Hialeah market update to those people. That's relevant to those people in there. I think those type of things, you know, fresh, that just happened, I think that's better than something that you can automate, right? Automation should be very minimal, short questions, short emails, right? But they need to be there still, right? Clients looking to shortcut the process are putting their financial well-being and housing decisions on a weak foundation and end up short sale or foreclosures, unfortunately. Yep, that's also true, Jose. I appreciate that. Guys, Kevin, I don't know if there's any other questions, anything else that you guys have seen. If you guys want a copy of some of those loyalty agreements, you can hit us up on Facebook or Instagram. Let me see here. Monique, thank you. Sometimes I think we look too deep into it. Monique, you are talking to someone that definitely falls in that criteria. I have definitely looked into it too much, and I can conclude that a lot of it is probably a waste of time. The most important thing that any of us can be doing, the most important, is getting on the phone, talking to them, and texting them. So thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody. Mark, any closing thoughts?
No, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I have one. For Romina, there's a great class for her. It's on June 16th. It's Surviving the First 6 Months as a Realtor. It's at 10 a.m. It's for 1 hour. So just go on to MiamiRealtors.com, click the calendar, find June 16th, and find that class and sign up. It should be for free.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. Peace out.
I don't know if you want to.
Oh, Kevin, any closing thoughts?
Oh, zero closing thoughts from me. You guys did a phenomenal job. Thank you so much for your time and your energy, and the secret. Not everybody always shares their secrets, so we appreciate you greatly.
Peace. Thank you, man.